Have you ever, been reading something? Maybe it's a legal document or a scientific paper, and you look up a word you thought you knew.
And you just fall down this linguistic rabbit hole.
Exactly. You suddenly find yourself clicking through ancient roots, discovering these super precise definitions, and an hour later, your whole understanding of a basic word is just completely changed.
That is pretty much the experience we had with our source material for this deep dive. We were just handed a stack of dictionary entries, and they all started with the prefix AC.
And it was anything but simple. So our mission today is to take this collection, and it covers everything from crime and contracts to geological formation and confrontation, and really pull out the exact legal, scientific, and historical nuances.
Right. We want to turn these common words into powerful tools for you.
We're aiming for precision, clarity, and that really satisfying feeling of knowing the exact right word for the job.
It all comes down to context, really. We'll show you how these words, all linked by just those two letters, change meaning so dramatically depending on whether you're in a courtroom, a bank, or, looking up at the stars.
So where are we starting?
Let's start our deep dive where intent matters most, with association and wrongdoing.
Okay, so let's unpack this first word, accomplice. The general meaning seems pretty straightforward. One associated with another, especially in wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
You read that someone was convicted as an accomplice to a crime, and you get the picture. And the list of synonyms is a real rogues gallery. Henchman, cohort, partner, accessory.
A better informer. Yeah. But the legal definition adds this absolutely crucial layer of intentionality. Legally, an accomplice is one who intentionally and voluntarily participates in a crime.
Okay, that makes sense.
But here's the part that makes the definition so much broader. Participation also includes failing to prevent it, though, under a duty to do so.
Wow. That is a fascinating legal lift.
It is.
It means the law sometimes sees not acting as being just as criminal as, say, driving the getaway car, but only if that duty exists.
Precisely. If you're a parent, a police officer, anyone legally obligated to protect someone, your inaction can make you culpable. It moves the word accomplice way beyond just being a lookout.
It carries this heavy burden of responsibility. The stakes are massive.
Yeah.
I mean, the precise use of that word is the difference between freedom and prison.
Absolutely. Which is why the etymology is so interesting, too. It holds a little surprise. It was borrowed from Anglo-French as an alteration of the simpler word complice. It just means associate.
Right, and I remember reading about the popular theory, the one that sounds so good.
Oh, the A at the beginning was just the indefinite article that got fused on, accomplice became accomplice.
That sounds so neat and tidy, like a perfect little linguistic accident.
It does, but unfortunately for the neatness, the sources confirm that theory just can't stand up.
Why not?
There are earlier Anglo-French examples of the word, some from as far back as 1384, that already used the ac form, so that prefix was intentional. It wasn't just a dropped article.
So sometimes the simplest explanation is just a good story, not the historical fact.
That's it.
Well, speaking of intentionality, that idea of intent brings us to our next word, where the desire to act, or maybe the bringing to heart, really defines it. Accord.
Yes, let's pivot from wrongdoing to something a bit more harmonious.
Good idea.
Accord is such a linguistic powerhouse. It works so well in different ways. As a transitive verb, it means to grant or give something appropriate. The manager accorded the team equal respect.
And then as an intransitive verb, it's all about harmony, to be consistent with something else. So a new theory that accords with the known facts.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the noun. The formal agreement itself, the treaty, the peace accord.
I think the key phrase for everyday use is acting of one's own accord.
Yes. That really emphasizes a voluntary, a spontaneous impulse to act, a decision made without any outside pressure.
And that spontaneity ties directly back to the word's history, which is just beautiful. Tracing the root, accord comes from the Latin ad plus cordare.
The core idea is literally bringing to heart.
I love that.
Yeah, and that root connects it to its opposites, like concordare with heart, agreement, and discordare away from heart, conflict. It's an ancient way of defining consensus versus conflict, based on where the idea sits in your emotional center.
That's a perfect transition from a heartfelt agreement to financial growth with our next word, accrue.
Right. Most people hear accrue and they immediately think of money.
Absolutely. The main use is financial. To accumulate, be added periodically, like interest that accrues daily.
But it also applies in a more natural way, doesn't it? The wisdom that accrues with age, for example, or the reputation that accrues from years of hard work.
And once again, the legal definition sharpens the timing. This is so important for you to understand if you ever deal with contracts or legal claims. Legally, to accrue means to come into existence as a legally enforceable claim.
This is critical. It's all because of the statute of limitations.
The clock starts ticking.
Right. The clock on your right to sue doesn't start until a cause of action accrues, until that legal claim officially exists. The precise moment that word applies might literally decide whether your lawsuit gets heard or just thrown out of court.
That's how much weight one single word can carry.
A lot.
Well, that deep legal gravity sets us up perfectly for our next word, which also deals with increase, but on a more physical, geological, even cosmic scale. Accretion.
Yes, accretion is all about the physical process of growth by gradual buildup. It's an increase by external addition. This moves us right out of the legal office and into the science lab.
The examples from the sources are incredible. We're talking about rocks formed by the slow accretion of limestone, where layer just builds upon layer over millennia.
Or think about the scale of black hole accretion. That's the process where a black hole's mass increases by capturing all the matter around it. It's slow, steady accumulation on a truly universal scale.
And then there are the really practical, visible hazards, like the danger of ice accretion on jets or ships in bad weather.
That slow, gradual buildup of weight, it becomes a massive safety issue very quickly.
Geographically, too, the Mississippi Delta's land area gets bigger every year from the accretion of soil washed down the river.
And that visible, gradual process is also recognized by the law.
Right, because there's a specific legal definition tied to owning land.
Yes. Legally, accretion is the increase of land that accrues to the owner by the gradual or imperceptible action of natural forces. So, sand washing up or water slowly receding. The key word is gradual.
Not a sudden flood.
Exactly. If it's a sudden event, it's not legally accretion.
And here's where we get back to that precision for you. The source material is very clear. While the ideas are linked, accretion is almost always a noun, and it's often scientific. The verb accrue is much more common in finance and law.
Knowing that difference instantly elevates your writing. It's a small thing, but it shows you get the nuance.
Precision achieved. Okay, so if accretion is this slow, quiet buildup of land, our next word, accost, is a complete reversal of energy.
It really is. We're shifting gears from quiet growth to a sudden aggressive confrontation.
Accost is a verb with a very clear negative charge. To approach and speak to someone in an often challenging or aggressive way.
You know, right away it wasn't a friendly chat. If someone was accosted on the street, it was hostile.
But the word's history is where it gets really fascinating. It originally had nothing to do with speaking.
Not at all. It came from Old French, meaning to go alongside of, or even more specifically, to sail along the coast of.
So the word coast is right in there.
It is. It took centuries for this word, this idea rooted in physical movement along a boundary, like a ship and a coastline, to morph into purely verbal confrontation. That happened in the early 17th century. It's an incredible shift.
It's a wonderful transformation from physical proximity to verbal aggression. Now let's move from that to thorough preparation with the word accoutre, or spelled A-C-C-O-U-T-E-R.
This verb means to provide with equipment or furnishings, or just to outfit. It can sound a little old-fashioned, maybe military, but it's useful.
The synonym guide is what really makes this word unique and useful for you. Accoutre specifically suggests supplying the personal dress or equipment for a special activity.
That's the key distinction. It's not just general provisioning.
So if I pack a suitcase, I'm just furnished for my trip.
Right. But if you put on your full hiking gear, the boots, the walking sticks, the map, the compass for a specific trek, then you are perfectly accoutred. It implies a total specialized kit for a specialized purpose.
And the etymology is a bit murky. It might trace back to a root meaning to sew together, or even connect to the word for a plow blade, a coulter.
Regardless of the exact root, the idea seems to be about getting a specialized tool ready for a demanding job. You need the right gear, all fitted and prepared.
Okay, we've covered crime, deep history, geological growth, and sailing that turned into speech. To wrap up this deep dive, let's look at a few words dealing with peaks, pungency, and perspective. Starting at the top, Acme.
Acme is defined as the highest point or stage, or something, or someone that represents perfection. You might say the Roman Empire, at its height, was the acme of organized civilization.
But here is the genuine aha moment I love from these sources. This often surprises people. The word acne and the common skin condition acne, they come from the exact same Greek word root,
That's right. Acme meant mountain peak in Greek, and both words derive from a root meaning pointed.
That is the definition of linguistic irony, isn't it? The word for the highest peak of perfection shares a root with something most of us tried to hide in high school.
It definitely helps you remember the root. But when we talk about reaching that peak, the synonyms are important. Acme implies perfection of a thing. That makes it subtly different from, say, zenith or pinnacle, which is just a dizzying height, or climax, which is just the highest point in a series of events.
So if a CEO says their new software is the climax of development, they're implying more is coming.
Exactly, but if they call it the Acme, they're making a much bolder claim. This is it. The final, perfect version. It's the highest mark of quality, not just the loudest point in the timeline.
Okay, so moving from the highest point, let's turn to the harshness of taste and tone with the acid words. We'll start with acerbity.
Acerbity is the quality of being acerbic, so bitterness, bite, and edge. It's rooted in the Latin acerbus, which means sour or bitter. You'd use it to describe really harsh criticism or a sharp, difficult attitude. It suggests a deep bitterness.
And then we have its gentler cousin, acidulous. It means somewhat acid or harsh in taste or manner.
It comes from the Latin acidulous, meaning slightly sour. The key difference is just the degree of bitterness.
And that degree is where the conversational line sits for you, right? If someone describes an article as being full of acerbity,
They mean the critique was brutally, maybe unfairly harsh.
but if they describe the author's writing style as acidulous, they might actually be complimenting their sharp wit. It's pleasantly tart, gently satirical, not cruel.
Exactly, it's critical but not corrosive. The difference between sour and slightly sour can save a professional relationship.
Finally, let's touch on recognition with the word acknowledge. The definitions are mostly clear. Recognize status, authority, or, make known that you've received something.
But the nuance, again, is in the choice of word. The synonym chooser in our source notes that acknowledge implies disclosing something that has been or might have been concealed.
So it means skating a reality that you could have kept hidden.
Yes, and that makes it different from admit, which often suggests reluctance about facts, or confess, which is usually for admission of guilt. Acknowledge often carries a weight of formal, maybe even reluctant disclosure.
So it's the difference between confessing you broke the lamp, admitting you were in the room when it broke.
And acknowledging the existence of the broken lamp on the floor.
We have ranged across an amazing linguistic landscape today, from criminal partnerships and agreements from the heart to financial law and the violent shift in the meaning of a cost.
And the common thread through all of it is the subtle precision these words demand. Understanding the difference between a financial claim that accrues and a physical process of accretion, or choosing between Acme and Pinnacle, that instantly sharpens your ability to communicate.
That really is the power of a deep dive into the language we use every day. And as final thought for you to carry into your next reading assignment, consider this. We noted that so many of these words, accord, accost, accrue, acme, they begin with the Latin preposition ad or a version of it, meaning to or towards.
It's like the DNA of these words is always pushing, always pointing towards some kind of goal, whether it's moving toward agreement, moving toward a person aggressively, or moving toward a peak of perfection.
So challenge yourself. Notice other ac words in your daily reading: acquire, accept, achieve. Check their Latin roots and see if that subtle sense of purposeful direction that striving towards is still hidden in their structure.
Until next time, keep digging into the words that shape your knowledge.